Hey everybody, what's going on? So we are going to be looking at part 3 of this 40-minute podcast. I'm breaking this down into segments due to popular demand. You guys have really seemed like you've enjoyed these videos, and I'm happy to do it for you. So we're going to cover about another 10 minutes of this. And before we do, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help grow the channel, and I appreciate every single one of you so much who does that for me. We're getting close to that 10,000 subscriber mark, so again, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you. So let's get into this, and then we'll talk about it.
You talked earlier, Pierre, about winning the battle of ideas on a certain issue. One subject you've taken up in recent days is immigration, and I want to ask you a few questions about it, if you'll permit me. We're speaking on June 19th. Yesterday, Statistics Canada released Q1 population growth numbers that are down relative to historic highs, but still unprecedented outside of the past few years.
That's right.
What, in your mind, is the cost and consequences of Canada's rapid population growth?
Where to start? Obviously, housing in the 2022, 2023, and 2024 years, how we increased our population at a rate 2 to 3 times faster than the rate by which we increased our housing stock.
Yes.
So it's pretty obvious what's going to happen when your population is growing 3 times faster than the number of homes to house them, and you get 26 kids living in one basement in Brampton, according to that City Hall. You've got a doubling of housing costs, which is not exclusively the result of that the population growth. It's also the result of anti-construction policies bureaucracy, gatekeepers we have to remove.
Yes.
But housing is definitely one. We're at youth unemployment now. Unemployment among students is now 1 in 5. 1 in 5 students looking for a job can't find one. It just so happens that the very large population growth is among young people who are international students and obviously looking for work to pay their way while they're here, but displacing Canadians in the process. The massive growth in temporary foreign workers that has far outstripped the need has driven down wages. And the government has allowed this to continue to divide our country. So we need to dramatically reduce the numbers, end the abuse in the international student, temporary foreign worker, the fraudulent refugee claims. That all has to be ended, and we need to stop the numbers from growing while the housing, healthcare, and jobs catch up.
And he's absolutely right about that. And another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the birth rate in Canada. I believe it's like 1.3 or 1.4, which is well below replacement. So when Pierre says, hey, listen, we need the population to reduce for a little bit, he's not talking about, hey, don't have kids. He's just saying, hey, listen, we can't allow so many people to migrate to this country. We're going to have to put a massive cap on it so that the numbers can catch up. And then we also, listen, let's just be very honest here. If you don't increase the birth rate, you don't replace yourselves, which means you go extinct. Right? We all die one day. And if we don't have children to replace us, that means, well, how's the government going to replace the population? Mass immigration. I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather have a society where it's not so divided, where more people are meeting each other, having children, developing strong relationships, buying homes, like what it used to be. The 90s was like one of the best times for people. Everyone was buying a house, having kids. It was just a great, making money. It was just a great economic time. Society was not nearly as divided, and it's the liberals who have been doing it. The Democrats in America, the liberals here, the NDP propping them up along the way. Right? This isn't racist or anti-immigration. It's just a math problem. On top of all the other issues, like Pierre Poilievre said, not being able to build houses fast enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's absolutely right. And he did a great job breaking that down. And I think a lot of people want to see this on the conservative side. There's even people who are liberal now who are telling me, even like I know people in my personal life who said, yeah, we need to cut the immigration down. Well, the problem with them saying it is because 5-10 years ago, they would say that something like that is racist. And it was never racist. It was always just a math problem. So from their liberal logic, they're actually just being massive hypocrites. Not to mention, every time these liberal politicians say they're going to do something, they don't. They just say what they need to say to get elected. It's as simple as that. And people still keep believing them somehow.
The only way we're going to get things back to a level of sanity.
Yes. Today, the hub characterized what's happened in our immigration policy over the past several years as a social experiment gone bad.
Very bad.
What do you think happened? What was behind it?
I actually don't know. Like, I don't know what caused them. From the time Trudeau took office, he was obviously pursuing a very open borders policy.
Yes.
But he did something in 2021, 2022 that was well beyond even that. They just like literally opened the door and almost welcomed fraud. They did things that were like, I'll give you an example. Something that I can't imagine why anyone would be sitting around a policy table and think about that this was a good idea. The Harper government was responsible for a policy that if you have higher than 6% unemployment in your locality, you can't have temporary foreign workers for hotels, accommodations, and restaurants. Hotels, retail, and restaurants. Because the idea is if you've got unemployed people, they should be getting those jobs first. The Liberals got rid of that so that even in places where you had high local unemployment, employers could go around the locals and hire a lower wage temporary foreign worker. Like, what could possibly be the rationale for that? That's not like...
So, what I want you guys to let me know in the comment section is, because it's such an incompetent policy to just let the doors be wide open and have an open border, basically, a lot of people think, including myself, that the Liberals weren't stupid when they did this. They did it on purpose. But Pierre can't really say that because he doesn't have proof, and it's going to make him look like a wonky conspiracy theorist. It might turn some people off. And, by the way, when he says, I don't know, like, maybe he doesn't agree with me that it was done on purpose. Maybe he's just being honest. And again, that's why people like Pierre Poilievre. When a politician says, hey, you know what, that's a good question, I don't know, that just means they're being honest. Well, that's a refreshing thing. Now, a lot of people say, oh, if you don't know, why you right? No one knows everything. If you know someone or a politician who has the answer for everything, they're probably just making things up. He's being honest. He's like, you know, I don't know. Even if he does agree with me that, hey, this is done on purpose, he can't really say that. Because again, I'm just speculating. I think a lot of you would agree with me. Let me know what you think in the comment section. But I have a feeling this is all being done on purpose. The Liberal Party is trying to destroy this country, and they're not stupid. I have a hard time believing that, you know, all my life growing up, it's, oh, education, it makes you more intelligent. You need it to succeed and to thrive and have a good career. And, you know, you have to be intelligent and smart and all this. And it's like, well, most of these, if not all these politicians have had a lot of education. Pierre Poilievre went to university. So did Trudeau, Singh, Carney, etc. Like all the top guys and women have been to college or university. So I don't buy the argument that they're stupid, because how could you logically make an argument that educated people are also stupid? Especially that stupid. I think it was just blatantly done on purpose. We're trying to screw this country up, make people more reliable on the government, and then you can't vote them out because you need them. They're going to screw things up so bad that people are going to think to themselves, hey, if we vote in Pierre Poilievre and they take away all the universal basic income program or whatever the Liberals come up with in the future, they're going to be homeless. Now, that being said, I'm sure the Conservatives are smart enough to say, hey, we're going to get rid of this eventually, but we're going to restore the country first. Fine, but you know, when people are dependent on the government, they don't want the government to change, especially one that's going to come in and be a smaller government. And I think they're just doing this on purpose. They want to destroy this country. They want people dependent on them. If you're weak and you're sick all the time, which a lot of people are, you need a lot of services. Instead of saying, hey, this is wrong, we need to promote a healthier society so that people can live healthier lifestyles, they don't do that. They're not interested in that. They want to create problems and then pretend that they have the answer for you. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you agree with me? Do you think that Liberals are doing this all on purpose, or do you think they're just incompetent?
Like, whoops, you can see what they were thinking, but it didn't turn out the way they thought. It's like, why would you do that? And
yeah.
it was it a deliberate attempt to drive up profits for multinationals, allow them to drive down wages? I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but that was the outcome. Mm-hmm. And the international student program, like, they were letting people in who clearly were not studying. They weren't even if they were going to an educational place at all, it was for a few hours a week. Yes. No evidence that they were studying, and they're working 40, 80 hours a week. How could that be a good idea? So this, I think it was part of an ideology, an open border ideology that the Liberal Party believes in and that they pushed for, and that is now we're living with the consequences. So we have to reverse that policy, and there has to be a period of very low numbers so that our housing, healthcare, jobs can catch up, and then we can start to restore what was the best immigration system in the world before they took off.
Talk a bit more about that, Pierre. I know that at different points in the past couple of years, the Conservative Party has thought, at least internally, about shifting the setting of the annual intake from a small p political decision, in effect a decision taken by the minister, to something rooted in a formula that accounts for things like housing starts or the unemployment rate or whatever. How in effect do we get these numbers under control?
Well, we definitely have to cap population growth. Now, I say population growth because the emigration formula is that there's two parts to it.
Yes.
There's the numbers coming in and there's the numbers going out. Natural population growth in Canada is basically zero. In fact, it was negative for the recent quarter. So yes. When I say population growth, I'm talking really about immigration minus emigration.
Yes.
We have a lot of people who are supposed to be leaving in the next sort of year. They are international students and temporary foreign workers on temporary visas that are going to run out.
Yes.
So we're going to need more people to leave than to come for the next several years. And that means even having negative population growth in that time period. And then after that, we have to have a hard rule. And I proposed this a long time ago, that the growth in the housing stock, job market, and availability of doctors must always be higher than the growth in population. And you can set that by the levels plan. There's something called the levels plan where the government actually sits down and pencils out how many people are going to be allowed to come in, how much our population is going to be allowed to grow. And we need to basically say, well, if we grew the number of doctors by this much, and we grew the number of homes by this much, and the number of jobs by this much, well, the population can only grow this much, because we can't overload any of those systems for our own people, or it's not fair for the people who come. Yeah. So it's actually a false promise if we invite people here and then they have no place to live and they can't go to a hospital when they get sick. So that's how I think we need to do it. But it's going to take a time to get back to some level of common sense.
Yeah. Let me ask about housing. Notwithstanding bold commitments from Ottawa on several of the provinces, it looks like this year housing starts will be lower than last year. How do you explain that?
Well, Carney is pursuing the same policies, but on steroids, of Justin Trudeau. Trudeau's approach was to fatten up local bureaucracies with lots of federal transfers, and then they would block building with high taxes, very slow permits, and then they would create more government programs in Ottawa to subsidize builders to get over the wall that the local governments had created. So it's a classic case of a government creating a problem and then saying, well, the solution is for there to be even more government to overcome that problem. And in Vancouver today, I think it was C.D. Howe did the study. They took the cost of building a home and compared it to the cost of buying one, and there's a $1.3 million gap between those things. It's incredible. Well, what's that gap? I call it the gatekeeper gap. It's the cost of development charges, fees, delays, taxes, lawyers, consultants, other soft non-construction and non-land related costs. And it seems to me the obvious thing to do is get rid of those costs. Let's go from having the second slowest permits in the world to the fastest. The Americans and the Brits permit housing 3 times faster than we do. They have to cut the development taxes. Like, in the Toronto area, they've jacked them up by over 1,000% in the last decade and a half. 60% of the cost of a new home in Vancouver is government. So we have to cut those costs, because right now, despite the enormous sale price, builders actually don't make a lot of money.
Yes.
So the buyers can't afford to buy, the sellers can't afford to sell, and everybody is getting screwed. It's the worst of all worlds. And so we need a policy at the federal level that incentivizes municipalities to get out of the way, speed up permits, free up land, cut development charges, and we need remove the GST from all home purchases, not just first-time buyers. We're a very small percentage of buyers in the first place, particularly of new homes. And finally, I think one idea that would cause a massive boom in our economy, it'd be like rocket fuel, is if anybody reinvests their capital gains in Canada, it should be tax-free, and that would be a big boon for the home building sector. Any cap gains people make, they could put that into home building, and they'd be really incentivized. They'll eventually pay tax on it down the road.
Yes,
but it would, in the meantime, free up the capital to build the homes.
You mentioned.
So we're going to stop it there, and that's a great idea. And that's the thing, right? Like when you have a common sense attitude, and you just, common sense comes naturally to you, like it does to Pierre, you're going to be able to think of some really creative ways. And, the capital gains tax, getting rid of that if they reinvest into the economy is great because everyone wins. And that's the thing, right? That's what you want. That's the government's job. Serve us, give us a break on things. Well, also, again, like Pierre said, you're going to get the taxes later on down the road. You also collect a lot of other taxes. They don't need to tax everything as much as they do. And we know that because obviously the government has so much money not to spend on us, but to send to other countries, which means there's a massive surplus in taxes that they don't even need. And hell, they don't even use. They just send it away. So yeah, you reinvest your capital gains into the economy, into the housing market, no taxes. Perfect. And that's the thing, the Conservative Party, and again, it's not just Pierre, right? It's his whole team, right? Larry Brock, Michael Barrett, Melissa Lantzman, Raquel Doncho, and then all these newcomers, Shannon Stubbs, Sabrina Corina, I think her name is, and then you have Aaron Gunn, Ned Curick, you have Andrew Lawton, lots of really strong, and I'm missing some name, I don't want to name the whole caucus, but they got some really strong people and very smart people to work with. So it's not just Pierre, he's got a great team under him. And that's what we need to restore this country. We don't just need a good prime minister. He's also got to be able to delegate these positions to people who know what they're doing. And I don't know which one would be the best option right now. I know he announced his shadow cabinet, but just because you're the shadow minister of something doesn't mean that you're going to be the actual minister when your government becomes into power. But either way, it just seems like there's so many people who could do so many things. Like Andrew Lawton seems like he could be the minister of almost anything. He seems very versatile, and same with Michael Barrett. You could probably argue that for Melissa Lantzman, Leslyn Lewis, just et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. I think there's some people that their job would seem obvious, like Larry Brock, right? He's going to be in charge of crime, as he should be. But there's so many other versatile people in his shadow cabinet, in his government, and the fact that it grew by 24 seats, which means there's even more of them now, that's great news. And, Pierre going on these podcasts and letting people know, hey, this is what I think. And I think that, here's common sense and here's some programs I think would really help Canada. And it's just, he just seems right on so many things. Now, there's a lot of people too. I was reading some of the comments. Now, some of them are really pro Pierre Poilievre, but when this podcast first dropped, it seemed like a lot of liberals were reading it first, because I was looking at some of the comment section, and you're seeing a lot of people, my heart goes out to Pierre, I could listen to PP all day. So I guess, I'm not going to go through the whole comments, but it's just weird how you kind of see like the liberals crapping all over Pierre after the interview dropped, and then all of a sudden more and more people who like Pierre hear about it, and they just flood the comments with positive things. But that's also a good thing too, because I believe the Hub is more of a left wing. I could be wrong on that, but from some of the comments I was reading when the podcast first dropped, it seemed like some people saying, hey, it's good to actually have Pierre on, he's from the other side. So that to me means that this is generally more of a liberal, but I could be wrong on that. It was based off of one comment. Let me know in the comment section if that's true or not. And that also could explain why so many liberals were, bouncing all over Pierre when he first came on the show, just insulting him like crazy. It was disgusting. And you see it on X too, right? People now criticizing Anna Poilievre. Like, what are you criticizing his wife for? Especially if you're a liberal. You know what I mean? Like, what, you have a problem with her? For what? Because she married Pierre Poilievre and you think he's a fascist? Like, it doesn't even make any sense, the hate that she gets. It's disgusting and sad to see. People on the other side specifically really love to kick people when they're down. Well, guess what? You can keep kicking all you want. They're going to be back. And then we're going to see these liberals shit their pants, including Mark Carney. You know Mark Carney does not want Pierre back in the House of Commons. He does not want to have to debate him every single time during question period. He's going to get massacred, and he knows it. At the same time, he also said he wouldn't play games, so he's got to call that by-election soon, and it probably will be sometime, my guess is middle of August, but, we'll have to see. But either way, I thought, the first 3 segments here, these 10-minute segments I've been breaking down, Pierre Poilievre looks really, really strong here. And that's probably why you're seeing his numbers they're steady right now, even though he's not in the House of Commons. He lost his riding. It looks kind of bad. Ecos and Nanos are showing all these crazy numbers in the polls, but Abacus, who's way more accurate, well, they're showing that his support is still very steady. Just wait until he gets back in question period. It's going to grow up. It's going to go up again. He's going to expose Mark Carney. Unless, miraculously, Mark Carney has a good summer and does a bunch of good things. But we'll have to see. Either way, let me know what you think. We're going to have one more segment coverage of this. I'm going to either drop that tomorrow or the next day. But again, let me know what you think. Please don't be shy, and please also don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Really helps me out a lot. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back shortly with a new one.